Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Return. And this was a really good episode. I mean, they've been just chugging along lately, and this really brought some interesting concepts to the fore and really kind of started setting up how the season finale is going to play out. So we start off and we see the Superior looking over the Darkhold, saying that there's a few funny passages in it and just going on with his kind of plans, and then they kind of go off and try and pretty much get to where the framework's at. And then we see the standoff with, of course, Ada, Fitz, and Coulson and May. And we see the end result of the teleport and everything. So then we see Coulson being like, no, she's gotten human powers now. Crap! And then they're trying to figure out what to do. And then, of course, the Superior comes in and we're like, well, now that you're out and everything, all my restrictions are gone. Otherwise, you'd have been dead already. And then May's like, who's this guy? And he's like, short person, shoot him. And so May starts shooting at him, and it's not working. And it's like, crap. And May gets kind of thrown aside, and he pretty much gets Coulson up and is like, hey, what can you do now that you don't have your shield to protect you? And of course, he then uses his shield and chops his face off. And I was just like, yeah, that was really good. He's like, I still got that one. And then he sees that there's other Superiors out there. He's like, oh crap. So he closes the door and pretty much works to make sure that it's maintained. Then we get to the Quinjet and we see that they're like, okay, we've been hit 3 times. Why aren't we using any weapons or anything? We had taken pretty much all of these fort systems to make sure that the framework was still up. It's like, okay, what about fuel and everything? Yeah, we're kind of running low on that too. So we need to really get the power situation first. So they get Piper to pretty much one of the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to man the weapons while they're trying to pretty much figure out how to get the power back on. So throughout their whole thing, they're pretty much fighting Ivanov's jet. And Yo-Yo is pretty much grilling him why isn't Mac with you? He's like, listen, this is not the time. He wouldn't come out. We'll talk about it later. So of course Sims is like, alright, we need that black power cable where all that fire's at. So Yo-Yo is able to run through the flames pretty fast and get it. And they had a little bit of a snafu trying to get it since it was a little bit too short, but they're able to get the power back on. The jet's pretty much coming at them kamikaze style, and they're able to fire on it and blow it up. It's like, okay, kind of get us up to speed with what's going on. We're pretty low on fuel. We haven't stopped because we are deemed terrorists, and that they found Mace's body, and all of his bones were broken and everything. It's like, oh shit. So that's kind of where we're left off as they're trying to get to the coordinates to the oil platform. Then we get back and we see Coulson and May pretty much figuring out themselves outside of the framework. Kind of talking up and getting May up to speed since she's been gone so long. She's talking about, alright, robots, replication stuff. Okay, I get all that. What about Reyes? He's like, well, his uncle tried to be a god and he dragged him into another dimension with a hellfire chain. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, alright, I'm feeling we're missing Robbie. It's like, crap, we'll have to see what's going on with that. So she's like, alright then, how long did it take you to figure out I was a robot? It's like, oh, Phil, I'm hurt. And she's like, okay, anything weird get between us? You tried to kill me? And he's putting off telling her about the bottle of Hague because she's like, after this, we're definitely drinking that bottle. And he's doing everything he can to make sure he avoids that topic. So they're kind of going through and trying to figure out what they've got. And it's like, okay, we've got a lot of stuff here. Oh, we got this drug that can pump me up and make me be able to pretty much take out one of the Terminators. Maybe both. And Coulson's like, that's kind of a bad idea because afterwards you're going to be pretty much drained or under response. And she's like, don't worry, you can give me mouth to mouth if it works that way. So they pretty much get their plan together, and May takes the drug, gets herself boosted up, and starts going after one of the Superior robots. And Coulson is trying to deal with the other one, and his situation is pretty much, oh crap, what do I need to do? And then he finds a puddle and pretty much electrocutes it. Yes. With May, she just fucking takes it out with a hammer and just beats the shit out of his head, and then breaks the neck. It's like, yeah, and then she goes down. So they're like, okay, I'm gonna get you up top first, then I'm coming back for Mac. And he's like, it's a little bit weird that they have not flooded this whole place. It would have been easier because Bill's figured out where they're at, 1950s Soviet kind of submarine refueling thing. While he says that, we see that the Superior's got everything that he needs on board. It says, alright, detach the sub and fire torpedoes. And then, of course, it starts the chain reaction of them shooting the torpedoes at there, right as Coulson tells May that he drank the bottle of Haig, and she's like, you piece up, and boom, everything starts going nutso. So they get up top, and of course, luckily, Yo-Yo, Daisy, and all them get there as well, and get them out. But of course, Yo-Yo and Coulson want to go down and get Mac, but of course, the elevator shaft blows up, and the stairs are unusable, so they have to bug out. It's like the water's rising to Max. Like, oh crap! So while this is going on, we get more information on Ada and what's going on with Fitz. They like appear at a beach, and she's telling him about like all this stuff that she's feeling, actually feeling feelings. And Fitz is still freaked out. He's like, oh god, I want to throw up and everything. And she's like, oh, of course you're processing 2 lives worth of memories. It's like, yeah. And it's kind of cool to see her have emotion and like expression where she really hasn't had it before, and just like trying to help Fitz because you can tell that she loves him. But of course, Fitz is having trouble processing this because he's in love with Gemma and kind of in love with her. And we learn as she teleports them to another place that's kind of similar to the one in the framework, to try to bring him to places to ease him into it, that she has been manipulating everything. He's like calling her ruthless, and she's like, no, I was just maintaining Ratcliffe's illusion, working within the framework of the framework, and just trying to make everybody happy. And she's like, oh no. And then Fitz is like, what's going on? Your friends are in danger kind of stuff. And she's like freaking out. She's like scared and everything. And he's trying to get her to have like empathy. Like, listen, we need to save my friends' lives. We need to do that. And she's like afraid of dying and everything. It's like, holy crap, seeing her have that fear. And he's like trying to pull on her positive emotions. And then, of course, she tries to go and stop the Superior, teleports into the sub, pretty much threatens him. And he's like, it's the irony now. You now have regrets. Ha ha! That was your job to like fix in the framework. And of course, she's threatening him. And he's like, hey, guess what? This body was made for killing. My head's somewhere that you can't find, and I got bodies everywhere, so good luck with that. And then, of course, she teleports back to Fitz, and then teleports with him. And that's how we get Max saved, as she teleports them all onto the Quinjet with, like, Simmons and all of them, and they ice Ada, and they ice Fitz. It's like, holy crap, how's this going to go down? Is Ada going to be good? Because she's been showing a lot of positive emotions. And, of course, what happens when negative emotions are going to be introduced? Because up until this point, I was thinking that she was going to be maybe turned to maybe good, possibly, and to stop being the Ada that we saw as a robot. And, of course, that doesn't exactly pan out, because they had put Fitz and Ada in, like, one of the rooms, because they go back to the base. They're, like, looking at all the devastation that happened, and they're like, holy crap. So, of course, we see the main fallout of that. Fitz talking to Ada while Gemma is watching, because they were talking about this whole situation with the main SHIELD team. And they're like, what should we do with Ada? And like, he was like, oh, we should just chop her head off. It's like, it's kind of hard to do now. She's actually a real person. So, yeah, we're going to have to kind of watch out for that. And she's like, we don't know how or who Ada is at this moment. And Gemma's like, no, she hasn't changed. The person who calls herself Madam Hydra is not really that open-minded. She's mainly worried about Fitz, and Fitz being Fitz, because she was talking to, like, Coulson and May. It's like, well, it's just a dream, right? It's like, no, it's a whole nother life. It's not like, oh, I dreamed I was a dick and just, like, kicking puppies and shit. It's like, you lived that dude who made the decisions to kick the puppies and kill the people. That is a hard burden to live with and to kind of, like, process. Also being psychologically manipulated to be in love with a robot. Kind of fucks some people up, and Fitz is gonna have a lot of fallout from that. And so he's talking to Ada in there, and she's like trying to calm him down and everything, and be supportive, and be like, I'm like Ward, my father screwed me up like this, and he's like, I've lost her. And of course Simmons is like losing it, watching. He's like, she'll never be with me again, and all that. I killed that future. And he's like, I can't love 2 people at once. And he drops the bomb that it's like, I can only have room in my heart for one person, her. And she's like, she flips. Of course, because this is her first big experience with negative emotion, and she loves Fitz, and being rejected in this way has completely fucking flipped her out. She has gone completely batshit, psycho, crazy. More so than even Ruthless Robot. And she's like, you're gonna be with me whether you want to or not, and tries to teleport him out. And it's like, okay, people needed to have seen this coming, because a robot trying to adjust to a human body would be a bitch of enough as it was, but the way Ada's been handling herself and giving herself inhuman powers, I would have had people watching that just for this exact scenario. And Simmons, thankfully, is the only one watching, and when she sees this going on, it's like, shit, and tries to get down there to, like, help him out. But, of course, as she goes there, Talbot comes in and is pretty much like, no, shut your mouths, you robots. I'm assuming you're all C-3POs until we've got definitive proof. And, of course, he's like, all right, Coulson, explain this to me. In 50 words or less, why we found Mace's body washed up on a beach with his bones quaked apart. And it's like, oh, so that's why they're kind of like focusing on Daisy. It's like, screw you, superior bastard. That's what he had done to Mace's body to fuck up their situation. So, of course, while this is going on, Fitz is able to escape from Ada into the pod and is like freaked out. It's like, shit. So one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that was on the Zephyr is able to get him out. It's like, okay, he's like, listen, you don't understand. She's gonna get out of there. She doesn't just have one power, and then she, like, uses Lincoln's electricity power to short out the whole cell and pretty much get out. It's like, oh crap. So the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are trying to get Fitz up to where everybody else is at. They run into a military patrol, and Ada starts taking people out. She's like teleporting, killing people and everything, and Fitz is like, just leave me, she just wants me. He's trying to sacrifice himself to save other people. And, of course, this doesn't work out because they're pretty much trying to get him out as fast as possible. So, pretty much, Talbot's losing some people. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They hear on the radio that everything's going crazy. Fitz and Piper are able to get up into the Zephyr because the one S.H.I.E.L.D. agent dude had Ada and was shooting her. It's like, holy crap. And he, like, goes at her and shoots her in the head. And Fitz is like, you understand, she's going to come after us no matter what. And he's like, Meg, you're the only one who understands what we were doing with the Inhuman research and the framework. You need to fly us out of here. It's like, holy shit. So Talbot's forces go off the Zephyr. They get the Zephyr up in the air and kind of leave. And we see that Ada kills the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and has some kind of healing ability to where she can't be killed, which is interesting because she said she was afraid to die in the portion of, like, trying to save the people. And it's like, okay, you would think that reaction wouldn't work that way, but if you're a new robot, even in a body that is kind of indestructible to a certain degree, you would want to avoid pain and everything to whatever possibility. And, of course, human brains don't act completely rationally, and so, of course, you'd be like, I'm afraid to die. It's like, now that she's, like, in destruction mode, she's, like, really going at it. And, of course, everybody's, like, trying to figure out what's going on, and, like, the Zephyr's in the air, and they were trying to figure out where Yo-Yo was, because Talbot thought it was Yo-Yo going through the base and everything. It's like, no. So, in regards to the Zephyr, everyone's like, okay, where's Yo-Yo? And they figure out that Yo-Yo's in the framework, and we see her at the end of the episode strapped into a chair, and she's, like, screaming, and everyone's like, and he's like, shit. So, that's kind of where we're left off with them trying to figure out how to get away from Ada. Ada is then seen with the Superior, like, pissed off and just, like, twisted up, and of course the Superior's like, alright, let's just rebuild the world. And Ada's like, no, that's too clean. I want them to suffer and everything. And, like, she's just pacing, drinking vodka and everything, and just, like, being the embodiment of, like, the perfect example of experiencing negative human emotion all at once. I mean, imagine if you were a child, but in the body of an adult, and you were experiencing everything for the first time, and you didn't have, like, a gradient. You went from never experiencing human emotion to experiencing every emotion almost exactly at once, and then having the negative ones with, like, no context to, like, oh, I'm sad. Why am I sad? Because of these things. How can I moderate this response? It's everything at once, and seeing her just, like, go through that is really fascinating and really well done. She's like, alright, help me feel something different, and starts kissing him, and then bashes and destroys his body. And it's like, all right, you feel better now? And it's like, okay, so she is going completely crazy and letting her emotions rule her, which is an interesting change up from just complete logic to wanting to be free and have choice to just being ruled and enslaved by her own emotions. She went from being a slave to code to a slave to her emotions at the moment. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that's kind of where we're left off. Her and the Superior getting their plans ready to pretty much take out everybody on the SHIELD team. So then we also get a point right before we see the Yo-Yo reveal that Talbot's in the base. He gets a head count of how many people are dead and everything and gets his people to move out. Then we get the cool part where machinery rolls up. It's like, what's going on? And we see the Ghost Rider come out because this is a big thing. It's like, yes, Robbie Reyes is back. And they really need him because we don't know exactly the extent of what Ada has been able to do with her body. Because the Superior even talks to her about it. It's like, I've read some stuff in this book, and I think you're one of those beings pretty much that this book talks about. It's like, holy shit, because of what she's been able to do. Who knows what she has used to create her body? And, of course, what could be the one thing that would be able to probably take her out? The Spirit of Vengeance Ghost Rider. So that is going to be a nice Titanic battle, since she's got who knows how many inhuman powers and how many powers from the Darkhold and what her plans are, but this dude's it's gonna be a cool ass throwdown, and I can't wait to see where this is gonna go and where it's gonna end and when we're kind of gonna be going in the next season. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.